Available on the net, you can access it. Hansard is a record of the federal parliament, or the parliament at that time. And you find out just who owns the country. Because Justice Isaacs and Griffiths, two more of the people who wrote it, along with Parkes and all the rest of them, stated quite clearly that at Federation, sovereignty was removed from the Parliament and vested solely in the people. Because this is more than just an act of the British Parliament, which it is actually not. It's claimed to be an act of the British Parliament. The first 9 sections were inserted by the British Parliament. The rest was put together by Australians, for Australians. It was put in place with the Imperial Act and Letters Patent. I say this because I've got a copy of it. You can access it through the State Library. You can go in there, you can access the Imperial Act and Letters Patent putting in the Office of Governor, the State Electoral Act, the Federal Constitution and the State Constitution. They're all there. It cost, I think, about $17, $18. I told you I got a copy of all of them for $17 or $18. There's nothing to it. This, however, is $275 and you can get it through Upmart in Victoria. If you want the PO box, it's 124 Elwood, Victoria. Just write them a letter, send them $300, they send you this back plus your change. You've got to pay for the freight. It's well worth getting if you get stuck reading it. I'm always on the phone and anybody can get me. I have no problem giving you all the sections to reference. But that's your best armour against the councils. We are going to have another federal referendum in relation to councils. The red-headed female of sorts is going to give us that, apparently. But the fact of the matter is, everybody just has to say no. But all you have to do now is join in a group, get a large group together, turn up the next council meeting and sack them. If they're a government, you have the right to sack them. All you need is 7 or more.
Wow.
But you're better off with a larger group, like 50 or 60 going in there, and saying, you're fired. You have no authority over our property. Then you'll find out actually who owns the council. You will find out then, in 1986, the Commonwealth of Australia was established as a corporation and registered on the US Securities Exchange Commission. The registration number is 0000805157. And underneath that it has Commonwealth of Australia Securities Company, LLC Company, which is a limited liability company, registered in Delaware, a tax haven. And when you poke into that, which takes about 2 hours of messing around with the computer, and I've got a friend who likes poking around in that, we come up with 3 $6 trillion accounts. Now who the hell owns that? That's our money. What's it doing hidden in Delaware in a secret account? You can access this on the computer. I'm not saying anything you can't access. The government is not only lying to you, they're ripping you off. But the Commonwealth of Australia owns the state parliaments of every state, and they control them. The state parliaments of every state have an ABN number. They are a subsidiary company of the Commonwealth of Australia Proprietary Limited. Each government department is a sub-company of those. The Supreme Court of Western Australia, or the Department of the Attorney General, which encompasses all the courts, the State Solicitor's Office and the Attorney General, is a company. They are not corporations, they are companies. They have an ABN number, not an ACN number. You want to find out who the directors are of the company? The Prime Minister is, for all purposes, the President of the company of the Corporation of Australia. Doesn't own it. It's owned by the Roman Catholic Church, the United Nations and the World Bank. Owns Australia. Who gave it to them? We didn't. The government did. They're not a government, they're actually a parliament. If you go into chapter 3, section 71 of the Constitution, it explains exactly what government is. It has 3 tiers. And local government is not one of them. The government is the governor and the executive council, which he selects from both houses of parliament, 10 people from each. It's in the Constitution and it's in the Imperial Act and Letters Patent putting his position in place. he is actually the executive government for the state of Western Australia, is the governor. The upper and lower house of the state parliament are a legislature. They only have the authority under section 2 of the state constitution, subsection 1, to pass laws for the good government and well-being of the state of Western Australia. They are trying to say they have plenary power and they are sovereign, but they are not. The third tier of government is the judiciary. The judiciary is made up of the courts, which belong to us, the judges, which are our servants, and the people, which is us, the sovereign people of Australia. We're the judiciary. Now, interesting thing, and I'm not going to go too far into courts because it gets too deep. We have for 12 years argued in the courts here, 12 to 14 years, and Josh will tell you, and so can Nick, I have literal stand-up arguments with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. I did prove on the 15th of February this year that he swore an oath of allegiance to the state, which is an unlawful entity. It's actually a criminal offence under the State Criminal Code. It's also common law treason under section 80, subsection 5 of the Federal Criminal Code. It's also treachery to alter the Constitution under section 24AA of the Federal Crimes Act. Every single one of those penalties is life imprisonment. And I threw that in his face. Got him a little upset, as you can understand, but to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Western Australia, as I informed him, you must swear an oath of allegiance to the Crown of the United Kingdom in right as a people. And that's in the 3rd schedule to the Federal Constitution. Since then, which was in the first time I threw it in his face, or not his face, was into the Supreme Court, was in 2006. Since then, the High Court has ruled in Lane versus Morrison that every court in this country must sit under Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Chapter 3 requires an oath of allegiance to the Crown. The Crown is not the Queen. The Crown is our system of law. The Queen is the monarch. She is not even our Queen in actual right. She's the Queen of England and of Northern Ireland. We are actually all British subjects, whether we like it or not. You read your Constitution, you find out you are. There is no such thing as citizenship in Australia. These swearing in citizens is swearing in nothing. Because if you look at the Constitution, you were sworn in as a British subject. Because Australia, even as a Commonwealth, is still a colony of England. We went from 7 separate colonies to one single colony called the Commonwealth of Australia. That's why this is a contract between us, the people, and the Crown. A contract the Crown can't break. The only one can break it is us. That's why the government keeps pushing for a referendum for a republic. Republic is a socialist dictatorship. When we said no in 1999, they said about bringing it about without our permission. In Western Australia, they produced the Acts Amendment and Repeals Court Legal Practice Act. Section 5 put in place all lawyers as officers of the court. Section 8 removed or changed the name of the Crown. The Governor now wears a dress and a tiara. Well, you would expect him to, because there's no longer Queen Elizabeth II. It was taken out and replaced with a Governor. So I would suggest he starts wearing a dress because he's a bit of a queen. But they took out the Crown out of all our laws and inserted the word the state, which is an unlawful entity. They were told at the time in Parliament they couldn't do it, but they went ahead and did it. That's Jim McGuinty and his clan. The fact of the matter is, what we've got at present is a dual government in this country. One is a socialist dictatorship, running as a total corporation, and the other is a constitution. The constitution is still in place, cannot be removed. Now, a lot of people don't understand when it took place. It started in 1973. In 1975, they stopped teaching the Constitution in our schools. And it was, I think it was 1981, they stopped teaching Scripture in schools. They don't want people to know about God because this country is set up under the authority of God. It's in the Constitution.